On this episode of The Crow's Nest, we are joined here in the nest with the legendary Robert Avery, aka Bobby A, and our good friend Joseph Mark, who you have met in previous installments of this program. On this episode, we are going to talk about Batman. We're going to discuss the comics, the movies, the idea of Batman, and why this archetype continues to be relevant. Why do people keep making films about Batman? How many reboots are we gonna get of the Caped Crusader? Something about this character, it speaks to us, and it continues to speak to us generation after generation. The character evolves, but some element of him continues to remain. So on this episode, we're gonna kind of delve into that. We're gonna try to peek behind the curtain and get a little bit into why. Answer that question. Why Batman? Why do people continue to be intrigued by this character, this archetype, this story? So, as a Batman fan, I hope you enjoy this show because I want to keep talking about Batman. I want to find many different ways to bring this topic up and to discuss it with new and interesting people. So I hope you enjoy this show, because I did. All right, so on today's episode, we are going to be discussing the legend of Batman, the Batman. And I thought about this subject primarily because of you two gentlemen and your love/obsession with the Batman character. I know, Rob, you don't like superheroes, but you do like Batman. So, guys, pick whoever wants to discuss, talk, start. I leave it to you.
I want to start off with one thing. Why is that? What's the difference between Batman and the rest of the comic book world to you, Rob?
It's a very large difference, Joe. But it's a good question to start off with. Batman is just a human being. He's just a guy. He happens to be supremely wealthy, but he has no special skills. He wasn't born on another planet. He doesn't have some kind of accident that gave him all these powers. He's just really smart and really rich, and he taught himself all these martial arts type skills. He didn't teach himself, actually. He got taught by Liam Neeson, if you remember that. And yes, he's learned everything from Liam Neeson. So he's just a man's man. That's why I love Batman, because he's an actual human being, and he just took it upon himself because of a tragedy that befell upon him when he was a child, and he just became a vigilante. He's the best detective of all time. So yeah. I'm not into giant galactal purple Josh Brolin's with fucking gloves that give you unlimited power. That shit is stupid to me. I like Batman only.
No, I get it.
So I'll answer your question, Joe. Right. So why Batman? Is that what was your question, Joe? Why is he? What makes him different?
Yes, and that would apply to you too, because I don't get the sense that you're a comic book movie person or just a comic book aficionado in general. But for both of you, the Batman character holds a much higher regard, and I was just wondering why. But Rob has kind of delved into that a little bit.
So, I mean, I do like comics. I don't read comics, but I like comic book characters. I'm not like, I know Rob. Rob will, if a good, let's say a superhero movie comes out and you're not going to call Rob to see if he wants to see this movie at all. If it's a Batman movie, 100%. He'll probably send you the text inviting you to go see this movie. But for me, I think Batman, it's because it's part of my childhood, and just like what Rob said, right? Batman, it's all about his mind, right? They call him the greatest detective. That is his superpower. It's his intellect. And when he goes toe to toe with people got superpowers, he wins. He's the ultimate human. That's why I like him. He's a human. It's the There's something, I don't know, fundamental to that. So, Rob, you got a lot. I mean, not Rob, Joe, you have a lot of questions. What do you have? You did research?
No, not questions. I put it. I like to make notes about things that I'm about to talk about, and I know for the movies, there's certain things. Each movie has its own little kind of theme, and those are some of the notes that I actually put through. I also wanted to talk about the different actors and how they were different, and how different movies kind of hit a different aspect of what the time frame was at the time. So that's basically what I set up.
All right. So, how about you captain this ship for a while?
Okay. So first, I want to go over the movies because I feel like that's what most people know. That was my introduction into actually all of comics. Um, I'm definitely one of those people that barely reads comics, but I know a lot through the movies. So one of the first movies that I actually like really went bonkers over was the first Batman. Although I didn't understand it as much as I did the second movie, but the first Batman was to me more of a movie about like kind of revenge. You would see Bruce Wayne kind of portrayed by Michael Keaton. He tried to avenge his parents' death. Um, Joker, played by Jack Nicholson, tried to avenge his betrayal by one of his bosses, and then he tried to take over the city that his boss actually ran. So to me, that movie was very much a movie about revenge, and also they twisted around the origins of those two characters and put in how the Joker murdered Batman's parents, and Batman tried to get revenge on the Joker for killing his parents. So to me, that was one thing that really struck me when I rewatched the movie a few years ago. How much that movie was based off of revenge.
I'll take it even a little bit deeper. I like that take, and here's why. But I'm gonna twist it a little bit. I'm gonna put a little shine on it. Uh, there's a difference. There's a difference between Bruce Wayne's motives and Jack Napier's motives. Jack Nicholson? That's the Joker. That's criminal that you didn't even mention Jack Nicholson and you said Michael Keaton. That's shame on you.
I did say Jack Nicholson. I didn't say this character's name. No, I did.
Did you? All right. Okay. All right. All right. All right. I take that back then. The Joker, you're right. The Joker is about revenge. For Bruce Wayne slash Batman is avenging. So it's a little different. So the Joker has malicious intent. He wants to create chaos and he wants to one of the best villains because Joker also doesn't have superhuman strength, speed, doesn't have powers, he can't change himself. He just has his sanity. And his Joker's superpower in quotes is called super sanity. He's so sane and so intelligent that everyone thinks he's insane because he's just so good at creating and manipulating and like basically being he's a world-class chess master. That's what he is. So another good thing adding to the Batman lore is most of the villains are also just got people. They don't have these like innate superpower. The Joker is clearly about revenge on Jack Palance, who's his boss. I forgot the character name. Grissom. Um, and Grissom is the crime lord in Gotham, and Jack Napier wants revenge on him. Yes, but Michael Keaton slash Bruce Wayne wants to avenge the death of his parents, and that's why he becomes a vigilante to stop criminals. And he partners with
And also avenge anyone that falls to crime in Gotham too.
right. Yeah, so he has a soft spot for that. And that's why he aligns himself with Commissioner Gordon because he wants to do it the right way. And he doesn't want to step on the toes of the police, even though the police paint him in a bad way. And the news, the press, as we see with Knox and what's her name?
Oh yeah, Vicky Vale.
No. Knox, the writer, the writer for the Gotham Gazette. Knox. Yeah. The guy who plays Arliss, what's his name? Robert Wool. Robert Wool.
His name is Knox. His name is Knox.
You know, that's the character name, but I was thinking of Robert Wool. And Kim Basinger's character, Vicky Vale. Those two. So they paint him in that way, as like they even draw him, which is a Bob Kane drawing, by the way. If you've seen the original Tim Burton Batman, um, when someone shows Knox the drawing of Bat, they draw like an actual bat with a suit, and that's a Bob Kane drawing right there. Who's one of the co-creators of Batman?
That I didn't know. I had no idea.
So you liked the Tim Burton Batmans, the first and the second one.
Those are the two best ones.
I did as well.
And you like the second one as well? The second one is full Tim Burton. I feel like when he did the first one, they were like, we want you to do this, but we want you to keep Tim Burton at about like a 60%. And then for the second one, they were like, all right, you can go full Tim Burton, because there is a difference between the first Batman and the second Batman aesthetically. If we're just talking about the films, like, the first one is more. I mean, the first one is closer to like a Christopher Nolan-esque Batman a little bit. It's a little more subdued. The second one is just.
I was thinking more of like Blade Runner.
It is a little like Blade Runner, yeah. True.
Okay. The second one's more like the cartoons. Honestly, like if you were to compare a cartoon episode and that one, it's like a little more zany. It's weirder. It's just, it has a different taste to it, which I don't know, man. I've tried to rewatch the second one, the second Tim Burton Batman. I can't do it. I get real tired of it. I'll be honest with you. I tried not that long ago. Yeah, Batman Returns. I couldn't get through it. Second time. I watched it as a kid.
For me personally, I love Batman Returns. To me, it's better than the first Batman movie for multiple reasons. One, the set design, the like the costume design, everything about that movie is just so much better and heightened. It just looks like an overall better movie to me, just aesthetically. Then when it comes to the characters, I feel with the characters, they're also, there's a lot more characters, but they go a little bit more deeper, especially with the villains. With this, I felt like
Batman Returns is where you're talking about.
with the theme of this movie is more like kind of recovery, like trying to recover from your own past demons. Um, with Catwoman being just a woman in that time frame in like the late 80s, early 90s, and trying to do her job in the business world and kind of being looked down upon, and then she snooped too much around her boss, and then she ultimately paid the price for it, and then she she got reanimated by some cats.
Yeah, that was that's one of the tough looks for Batman Returns, where the 700 cats in the alley bring her back to life. Yeah, that's the only thing. Everything else about that movie is awesome. I don't care what anyone says.
I am with you, Rob. I love that movie. Everything about it. The Penguin.
I mean, Danny DeVito. Dude, we could stop right there. Danny DeVito's in the movie. He's biting people's noses off.
Oh man.
You got Christopher Walken as the villain, Max Shrek. Yeah, and then you have more, but like you said, like they explore more of the villains, I guess. There's a lot less attention paid to Bruce Wayne in the second one.
To Batman, yeah, that is true.
But you're right, it's definitely more of a Tim Burton-y feel in the second one. He made Paul Rubens the Penguin's dad. Pee Wee Herman is the Penguin's dad in this movie. If that's not Tim Burton, then nothing else is Tim Burton right there.
Have you ever heard the story that Danny DeVito talks about the monkey in that movie? Have you ever heard this? So, right, he's on set as the Penguin, and he's in his full Penguin, outfit costume, and he finds out that they're gonna have that monkey in that one scene where the monkey comes and gives him something, like a chimpanzee, like a big animal. And he says that the first time the chimp is brought on set, the chimpanzee charges him, and Danny DeVito is not very big, charges him, grabs him, and bites his crotch, like goes full on to take like take his man hot dog right off. And it just so happened that like they had like kind of his costume was so thick that it never got the meat, right? And and they had to pull this monkey off. So he's like he's like trying to he calms down. They're like, and then Tim Burton's pretty much like, all right, you ready to do a round two, like another take? And Danny DeVito is like, all right, but we gotta really wrap it up. So they had to like give him this gigantic like diaper in essence to protect him from potentially this monkey, this chimpanzee, going straight for his nuts.
It is the did the chimpanzee, was he just exerting his male dominance? He was like, there can't be any other dicks around. It's only me. Yeah.
I imagine he looked at because Danny DeVito is not a very big guy. He probably was like, "This is
It's
another.
another
I don't know
chimpanzee."
what this is, but this is some strange chimp. We got to go to war." I guess that's how chimpanzees do it. They truly emasculate you. They take away your manhood. That's the true act of dominance, apparently.
That's an incredible story.
Yeah, I have not heard that story.
I mean, you go listen to Danny DeVito. He definitely does. I'm not giving it true justice.
Yeah. Yeah, because he was. It kind of makes sense because they gave him like ridiculous hair and makeup and that, and he had to wear like that onesie pajama. So the chimpanzees probably thought this is another primate trying to step on my territory. I I, I literally have to chew his nuts off.
Dude, he was so bizarre. There's the one scene where he takes like a raw fish and just starts eating it. It's just like, oh man, his character was so over the top.
I love Michelle Pfeiffer's character as well.
Yeah, she's good. She's the best Catwoman, in my opinion. Anne Hathaway sucks. I don't care what Anne Hathaway was garbage as Catwoman. Like, I no disrespect to Anne Hathaway herself. She's a garbage Selena Kyle, though.
I mean, yeah, she was less cat and more woman. I put it that way. Like, cause all the other Catwomans they have like a weird relationship with cats. Like, that's like a major part of that character, and then her portrayal was more like she was a cat burglar. Like that was the link to being a cat.
Cat burglar, which I like that.
First of all, Selena Kyle is not a brunette. If you look at the comics, come on. She's blonde, blue-eyed. She looks nothing like Selena Kyle. But yeah. But my favorite Catwoman is Michelle Pfeiffer. I like that character. That's the best Catwoman costume too. The suit, the leather with the stitches on it. It's the best Catwoman costume.
Well, and yeah, that's like that very. I don't even know what would you call that style. It's what is it? Like steampunk kind of that. Like the stitching, it looks like it was thrown together. I don't know. Anyway.
Yeah, no, it's more like underground 90s German house costume to me. That's what it looks like. If you gave her like a captain's hat, she will look like she's at like a European house party.
As soon as you said underground German like house party, I was thinking dominatrix.
Yeah, but also, I mean, it's no coincidence that Catwoman's weapon is a whip. It's the same thing. It's like I think that's what they're going for with the creation of that character. And she's also beautiful and like a seductress. It's clear that the archetype for Catwoman is a dominatrix.
So I have this question. So which in the comics, the films, the TV show, the cartoon, what would you guys say is the best villain?
Joker. No, it's not even close either. For me.
So for me, it's Heath Ledger's Joker. It's just like a driving force.
All right, so you wanted the specific one. Okay. All right. I would agree with that.
All right, so you're okay. So the character, but also that particular portrayal. That's what you're saying, Joe?
Yes, the portrayal counts. It does count. That's a good call, Joe. I would say it's a tie for me between. I mean, once again, Jack Nicholson. It's hard. This is a really hard question for me because the Joker's my favorite. one of my favorite fictional characters, period, in all of fiction. Um, but I think it's like I'm gonna have to go three-way tie between Jack Nicholson Joker, Heath Ledger Joker, and Mark Hamill Joker in the animated series. Because the Mark Hamill Joker in the animated series might be the best one. That might be the most accurate portrayal of what the creators of Batman envisioned when they created the character. Because like Heath Ledger Joker is like brooding, he's dark, he's a little mysterious. The Joker's supposed to be a completely insane, or at least you think so, but he's smarter than you. Um, and he's supposed to be zany and laughing. Like that's what makes him scary. That he could walk around and shoot people with a long pistol and just start laughing and dancing. That's what makes him scary. Um, so I think the Mark Hamill Joker is probably the most accurate portrayal, but the coolest ones for me would probably be Jack Nicholson and Heath Ledger.
So just to segue and talk about the Joker film a little bit, I want to bring that in because I haven't seen that, and it's apparently everyone has, and people like it. Do you think like do you consider that the Joker, or is that something else?
It's closer to the actual, in like I said, original intended Joker than um, what's his name? That motherfucker that just he made the Joker like a drug gangster. Yeah, Jared Leto, fuck that guy. um, that was a nauseating performance, and it was insulting, quite frankly. I hate that guy.
Which is crazy to me because Jared Leto's a good actor, and I felt like if he got a better director, better material, he could have done a great job with it. But they decided to turn him into like a LA gangster, and it was just off-putting to me.
So I actually I kind of liked him a little bit as the Joker, but and let me just explain that, and that's just because honestly, like I don't agree with you, Joe. I don't think it had to do with the director. I think that the Joker you saw was like Jared Leto's decision. Like I think he created the Joker that he thought he wanted to play. I don't think he like got roped into playing a part and a portrayal of the Joker that he didn't want to. I think he created it, and that's why they cut so much of his footage in that movie that he's in. I think they were just like, this is too far afoot from what we consider the Joker, and they cut like I think they cut like 75% of his scenes. Um, but I mean, honestly, hold on one second. I mean, think about it this way though. He was the first Joker right after the passing of Heath Ledger. So it's kind of like, what do you do? Do you do the exact same? Like, how do you try to like differentiate yourself? I mean that's a challenge I think for an actor.
Yeah, I mean, I don't mean that Jared Leto is fine as an actor, but that's a poor decision by Jared Leto. I'm telling you that right now. I mean, the grills, the chest tattoos, the shiny pink or purple trench coat. Get the fuck out of here with that. Just get out of here. It's just embarrassing.
So I'm gonna refute your take, Chris, because if you look at David Ayer's filmography, he did prior to Suicide Squad, he did End of Watch, LA gang movie with some cops. He co-wrote Training Day. He also did some movie called Sabotage and Harsh Times with Christian Bale, and they all have that kind of aesthetic where it's kind of like LA gang, tattoos, that kind of motif going, and that just doesn't suit that character to me.
You're probably completely right. Harsh, what is it? Harsh Crimes? Is that the movie? Harsh Times is the worst movie I have seen. I'll be honest with you. So this was like back when like Christopher Bale was kind of like early on, and I was like, I seen him in a movie. And I'm like, oh, this guy's a great actor. I go rent. This is when you could rent a DVD. I rented this DVD. Me and my dad watched it, and I was waiting for it to get good for like 2 hours. I was just like, it's like what? I was like, you won an Oscar, Christopher. Like, why would you do this movie? I don't understand how you read this script, Bale, and we're like, yeah, it sounds like a good idea for me because that movie's garbage, horrible. I want you both to watch it, and I want you both to agree with me. It's that bad.
I've seen it. I've seen it. It's bad, but I don't think Christian Bale is that bad in the movie. I just think as a whole, the movie is bad.
I mean, yeah, but you read the script. I mean, I don't think that script was good and then it got made into a bad movie. I think that shit was bad from the source material was bad. You know what I mean? There's sometimes you read a script and you're like, all right, the director just went in a different direction. And then sometimes you can't blame it. It's the script. Like if you made a movie, it is what you made. Script was bad, therefore your film's going to be bad.
Yeah, no, I agree with that. That's Christian Bale made some questionable decisions back in the day.
Well, I was gonna try to get us back on track, and also segue with Christian Bale too. um, so at some point, I was thinking, let me just skip over these two shitty movies, Batman Forever and Batman and Robin, because they were like,
Oh, let's not talk about those. It's complete garbage. You got George Clooney playing ice hockey with nipples in this one. Just absolutely ridiculous. Because
the funny thing is, I did not know this, but Christian Bale, he went up for the role as Robin in Batman Forever.
he got beat out by Chris O'Donnell.
Yeah, he did. I had no idea.
That's interesting. That's a tough look for Christian Bale.
And it worked out for him in the end, so
It did. It did.
Yeah, that's very true. I mean, you got to think Chris O'Donnell was he did a lot of stuff back in of that time period. He was a known quantity. Like I don't really remember too many Christian Bale movies prior to like I don't know, his kind of like becoming Batman. That was like his renaissance. That's when he kind of got on the map, I think. Chris O'Donnell was in a lot of stuff though of that time period of Batman Forever and the next movie. I forget the first one with George Clooney, what that was called.
Batman and Robin was the name. Yeah.
but those two movies in general were like a complete overreaction to how dark and kind of a little sexualized Batman Returns was. And then Batman Begins was a great reaction, in my opinion, anyway, to the how cartoonish and kind of overcapitalized the Batman Forever and Batman and Robin movies were.
That's a good point, Joe. Because like in Batman and Robin, you also had like you had Schwarzenegger, you had like just absurd characters. The Riddler was in that one too, right? No, that's the first one. All right, that's where Tommy Lee Jones and Jim Carrey. Yeah, but the second one is worse for me. Like Batman Forever, it's like all right, it's bad, but Batman and Robin was terrible.
Which I agree. I remember as a kid watching Forever, I loved the movie, and then like a year later, I rewatched it, and I'm thinking to myself, what the hell was I thinking? And I was what, maybe 12 at the time, and I would. That's one of the first times I've actually had like a rewatch, and I just didn't like the movie after rewatching it.
For Batman Forever, I mean, did you like Val Kilmer as Batman? I mean, regardless of the film, but did you like him?
He was good.
He was decent as Bruce Wayne. Yeah.
Yeah, because I remember as a kid when that movie came out, I liked him as I liked his portrayal of Batman. I liked his portrayal of Bruce Wayne. But the movie itself was a little it was a little cheesy, or I don't even know what word you want to use to describe it.
It was cartoonish, I would say. Yeah, like Joe said, like they overcorrected themselves back to like the 60s, where you see like the POW and the live action, the Adam West Batman.
But that's the history of Batman on film. It's like a bunch of like overcorrections, and it keeps swinging back and forth.
Well, what do you think's going to happen then now, the next? Because, all right, you had Christopher Nolan did his Batman's very serious, very, very realistic as far as if Batman was to take place in the real world. Then you have Zack Snyder Batman's, and there's some pros. I mean, there's some pros and cons to that portrayal, I think, because it reminds me of the HBO. What was that HBO animated Batman that they did? The older Batman, he's bigger, he has the gray suit. I forget. It's when he's older. He's like 50s, 60s.
The Dark Knight Returns. That's it.
But what do you think will be the next evolution of Batman? Because we got one right coming out in 2021.
Next year. Yeah, next year.
We got everyone's boy Robert Pattinson. McConaughey's going to be in that movie too, by the way.
For who? Who's he gonna play?
I forgot. He's going to be one of the villains. I got to look it up. McConaughey's in it though.
Interesting.
Because I know Colin Farrell's a villain. Damn it. Trying to remember who else is in this movie.
Wait, you said Colin Farrell is in it?
Yeah, Colin Farrell's gonna be the Penguin.
Colin Farrell's in it. Yeah. Zoe Kravitz is going to be Catwoman.
Catwoman. Yeah, I heard that. That's not good. They should scrap that character. Because I think she's going to play it very much. It's going to be cliche because she's going to emulate Halle Berry. I almost guarantee it. Guarantee it.
Yeah, that sucked. Let's not even mention that Catwoman movie. That's a travesty. And Jeffrey Wright is going to be Commissioner Gordon.
Gordon, yeah. Now that you think about it, because I heard a rumor about McConaughey being in it, but then I haven't heard anything. But there isn't much news about any other villains.
That's right. They're keeping this. I think they're keeping this tight because I'm also looking at it. I'm doing research right now, and all I see is, you're right, Joe. All I see is the rumor, but they won't. He's not listed officially on IMDb as being a villain. But Farrell he's attached officially. This is Kravitz and Pattinson, and this guy is gonna. The guy, where is he from? This guy is gonna be Alfred. I know him from somewhere. He's Andy. His name is Andy Serkis. Yeah, that guy. You know him, Chris? He's like a British actor.
Interesting. I have to look it up.
You'll recognize him if you look at him. Yeah.
He was in Casino Royale. He played the role of Gollum in Lord of the Rings. He was the main ape in Planet of the Apes. I forgot the name of his character. God.
Yeah, I know who you're talking about. He tends to do a lot of CG. Yeah, correct. Motion capture characters because he's very. I think he has a background in movement. So I've seen him. I didn't even know that he did films and acted as himself. I thought he pretty much always did that, like the motion capture, animated, voice acting. So what do you think about Robert Pattinson as Batman? Like forget the movie. We'll see how that turns out. Could be good, could be bad. But how do you think of the decision to choose him? Because it's kind of weird. Because think about it. All right, it was like, all right, you had Christian Bale, his Batman. Then you had the next Batman played by what's his name, Ben Affleck. And then so like, all right, so you went from kind of like skinny, intellectual, kind of like strong but realistic looking to larger than life Batman, right? And now you're kind of, where do you think we're going to go? Where's the pendulum going to swing with the next Batman, with the Robert Pattinson Batman?
Initially, when you came up with this idea about Batman, I thought it's because you heard of what he was talking about, where he didn't want to work out for the movie anymore. He was just fine about not working out. He wanted to be a so-called skinny Batman during this quarantine because the production shut down for the time being. So that's why I thought you brought it up.
I gotta make a comment real quick, Joe. What a bitch! I'm gonna have to edit. I'm gonna edit this out myself. But like, dude, you're telling me you're gonna get paid a good amount of money to be an actor in a freaking comic book movie where you're gonna be doing fun stuff, jumping, falling out of buildings and whatnot, like what most kids would have like loved to do growing up, and yeah. And you don't want to lift weights. You probably got a personal trainer. It's in quarantine. You probably still have a gym to go to. You have someone cooking your food, and you're complaining about that. I'm sorry. That's my little rant.
No, I'm totally with you.
He's British.
That could be part of it. But yeah, I think when it comes to the psychology of the character, I think if you've seen any of the movies that he's done lately, I think he's a perfect match for him. He's brooding. He has this kind of quiet intensity about him, and apparently they want to make this movie a lot darker than previous movies, which honestly I don't see how much more darker you can get. But they also want to make him more of a detective than he's ever been in any of the movies. So that would be cool to see. So I'm when they announced him, I was all for it. But I'm also with you. If you're gonna take a role this big, go all in. Don't go halfway. Do everything you need to do to take over this character.
Yeah, you're right, Joe and Chris. This is why I like Matthew McConaughey and Tom Hardy. Tom Hardy will gain 60 pounds and then lose 80 for the next role. So don't give me this shit, Robert Pattinson. Yeah, he's from fucking London. That's why he's posh.
This is all you need to do. You're not shooting. All you have to do is work out and eat food. And it's like you're going to. I find it so funny that how many actors who had to bulk up for roles, and we're definitely segueing. Joe, it's your job. You'll bring us back. But how many of these guys, and probably gals, but I've only heard it from guys, it's like they get tasked to play a character where they have to bulk up. And then it's like when you see them in interviews, they just complain about it. Oh, I hate, I'm lifting weights, eating food. It's like, dude, you're getting paid to get in shape. How many people have to find a way to squeeze that into their life because they ain't getting paid to do it? Are you kidding me? It's like whenever I hear that, I'm like, quit now. Like, just stop. You're done. You don't realize that your biggest complaint in life is that you got to work out for and get paid a lot of money. Like, come on now. It's kind of just indecent.
That's a funny point because it's like, oh, I have to eat too much. That's bad. It's like there's people that would fucking kill for that meal that you just had. So, no, that's a good point.
Yeah, right. You have Matthew McConaughey trying to cut weight. All right, that's tough. I imagine it. And you don't hear him complaining when he dropped all that weight. Same with Christian Bale for like The Machinist, and then you had what was the movie that Matthew McConaughey did where he lost weight? Dallas Buyers Club. They ain't complaining, and they dropped. They're like skin and bones. They look like. All right, Joe, bring us back.
But yeah, Joe, back to your question. I think I'm in accordance with Joe here. I think Pattinson is going to be underrated. He does the two things that he does have in spades for Bruce Wayne and Batman is he has the jawline. Look at Robert Pattinson's jawline. It's absurd. The guy looks like Batman. He looks his jaw is so squared. He looks like the animated drawing of Batman. Um, and he also has like that.
So sorry to interrupt you, but I think he looks like a perfect Bruce Wayne to me. If you've ever seen him like clean cut, perfect Bruce Wayne. Go ahead.
Yeah, exactly. So he has like the laser line jaw, and he also has the furrowed brow. So he has like the forehead that comes over the eyes a little bit, and and yeah, he looks exactly like Bruce Wayne. Joe's right. And when there's a picture that came out with him with the suit on, that looks like Batman to me. That looks like if someone drew Batman, that's what it looks like. He has the perfect face for it. So I think that's good. But now, what the jury's still out on is the performance, the behavior. Like, let's see if he can. Because I think for me, like we said, Val Kilmer and like Christian Bale was good too. But the perfect Bruce Wayne behavior to me is Michael Keaton. Like he's kind of unsure of himself. He's a little nervous. He doesn't have a lot of experience with like interacting with most people because he's kind of a loner and a lone wolf. He only talks to Alfred most of the time, and like his board of directors, which he never really shows up for. But like you gotta be like a little like that's why Michael Keaton's perfect because he stumbles a little bit. Like you guys know Michael Keaton. If Michael Keaton goes on a monologue, there's a lot of hesitations. That's what I want to see in Bruce Wayne because he's someone who lost his parents at a very early age, so he's always a little bit mistrusting of everyone, and that's what Michael Keaton got right. So I hope because Pattinson has the look. Aesthetically, yes, but let's see if he can he can act like most people would see Bruce Wayne.
So then here's my question to both of you then. Who do you think is the best Bruce Wayne and who do you think is the best Batman?
The best Batman was Christian Bale. The best Bruce Wayne was Keaton for me.
That's a tough question. I don't honestly I don't know. Like I think the movies I liked the most were the Christian Bale Batmans. I like him. I see. I think one of the issues with these films is that you're dealing with different ages of Christian Bale. I mean, of Batman and Bruce Wayne, right? Because Christian Bale is see the thing with the Christian Bale movies is that he's playing much younger than he is, and you know how old Christian Bale is. But right, like the first movie, the of the Nolan Batmans, how old is he? He's in his early 20s. He's like 25.
Yes, Bruce Wayne is probably like mid-20s. Yeah.
He's young, but because it's Christian Bale, he doesn't look so young. Whereas Pattinson, he looks young because he is. He'll look the part. So like the Michael Keaton Bruce Wayne and Batman, how old is he supposed to be? Like how far in his legacy is he? Is he been Batman for a long time or no?
No.
Has he been CEO of Wayne Corp for a long time or just became?
He's been CEO for a while, but I think my take, that's an excellent proposition right there. But I think my take would be because the newspapers, the Gazette is covering it in such like a almost a satirical way. I think it's the beginning of himself as the vigilante because they're like, there's a 6 foot Bat. No one knows he's Batman yet. Whereas in the Nolan Batmans, they know that everyone is common knowledge that Batman is around and he's saving people. But in the first Burton ones, he's just pretty much starting out.
So for me personally, I think the best Bruce Wayne is Christian Bale, and I think the best Batman is Ben Affleck. Because of the physicality of that Batman, I've never seen a Batman like.
Yeah, Batman should not have a robotic suit on. I don't care what anyone says. Fuck that. No, I hate that portrayal.
Yeah, but that's true to the comic.
But even before that, that warehouse sequence that he had was amazing. That's the best I've ever seen Batman moved on screen fighting um antagonists ever.
I mean, you know this, Joe. I actually liked his portrayal as Batman in those movies but it's different. It's like you can't. It's almost like they're not even in the same. It's like a reboot. It's not even the same Batman, kind of. But I did like because he's supposed to be a much older Batman, a much more experienced Batman, and I like how they made him like a comic book Batman, like larger than life. Like I can pick up a person and literally throw them. Like it's the Mountain meets Batman, combine them together, and there you have that version. Because yeah, his physicality is insane.
With Christian Bale's Batman, he has a little bit of Keaton in him where he's a little awkward around people. But then when he has to turn it around though, when he's around a mass group of people, then he can be the billionaire playboy, which I feel like no other actor has really portrayed him that way. He'll have like three women around him. He'll drive his Porsche around town. He'll do all the things uh, that city would think a billionaire playboy would do.
That's true, but like Bruce Wayne at his core, I think you hit the nail on the head. Like he had such a sheltered upbringing because of like the his early life tragedy that he needs to be awkward around people. Like he's not used to talking to people in like the media and stuff like that because he's been so far. Like look at his house. Look how far his house is from. He lives in his own gated community. He has a cave that he spends most of his time in. That's where he spends most of his time. So, um, yeah, exactly. And he talks to like an 80-year-old British man.
And that's why I like Bale's portrayal too, because he knows that he can be caught as someone who would be Batman unless he actually goes out into the public and changes his persona a little.
I see. Yeah, Yeah, that's right. All right, so it's like a conscious decision he's made to also add to like hiding the secrecy of his identity. I like that. That's true.
Exactly. When he's in public, he's a different Bruce Wayne, but when he's in private, he is very much in the same vein of Michael Keaton Bruce Wayne.
Well, you got to remember he is playing, and this actually reminds me of another Christian Bale movie. It's the Illusionist, right? His life is a character, right? There's you can't even say Bruce Wayne is just another character he portrays, right? You have he is Batman. That's kind of a portrayal. It's like his darker, part of his psyche. Then he plays the Bruce Wayne character. Really, the only one that you can say knows Bruce Wayne is Alfred. Alfred knows Bruce Wayne because he sees him, like you said, when he's not in the public eye and he's not being Batman. That's the only person that knows who Bruce Wayne really is. And I kind of think that you're right about the Christian Bale. They do at least showcase that in the movie somewhat, because you'll see like he'll be with people, he'll act one way, and then the moment they leave, his demeanor will change, and like then you're seeing like who he is. You know what I mean? Like there's the one scene he does the one, he does the toast with the wine. He's talking to someone, then they leave, and then he just throws the wine away, like the champagne, because he's like, I don't like. That is not in line with the actual Bruce Wayne. So you did kind of see that differentiation, I think, a lot more in the Nolan films.
That voice, though, it was pretty much an abomination. I couldn't deal with that. Yeah, I couldn't deal with that Batman voice.
They make a joke of those films because it's like, all right, in the Tom Hardy had weird people didn't like his voice, and then you had Batman, you didn't like his voice. It was the movie of like weird voices. Like, who made this decision?
Yeah, I know. It's Christopher Nolan, and they also, not to toot his horn again, which I do all the time on this podcast, but Aidan Gillen is also in the last Christopher Nolan, and he does the Baelish voice as like he's supposed to be playing an American CIA agent, and he just talks like Baelish in the play. It's just no difference. Aidan Gillen is like, no, this is the voice I do when I act.
Do him talking to Bane for the first time.
Oh no.
He's like the masked man, Bane. It's like wait a minute, and it's like, is this HBO? Like, what am I watching right now?
Yeah, did I put on the wrong thing? Am I watching Game of Thrones?
Yeah, exactly. The way he says that line, it's just like it's like Baelish giving a monologue. It's perfect.
And then you got Tom Hardy. He's like, his kind of strange voice, like big for you.
Yeah, it's like, don't expect one of us to be in the wreckage.
I can only imagine the look on Christopher Nolan's face when they was doing a post on that movie and listening to his voice. How much he might have been laughing or just being in despair, trying to finish that movie with that voice.
Well, they changed his voice. You know that, right? I mean, the Tom Hardy originally was the sound, the audio was coming through the mask. Like, here's the microphone, here's the mask, and then what they did, I don't know how they did it, but they like dubbed it.
Oh, okay.
The kind of, so you can hear, it's like they kind of took it and then they put it on top so you could it was stronger. It doesn't really sound like it's coming from behind a mask. It sounds like that's just how he talks by default.
Right. Yeah. I mean, they probably had to do that just for the film's sake, or no one would have understood what he was saying. Exactly.
You can't hear him, and it's Tom Hardy. You're paying a lot of money to hear him, so you might as well. You might do a good job.
And it's like the crazy part is Tom Hardy gained so much mass for that movie. It's like it doesn't even look like him. And when I go back and watch that movie, he's bald. I mean, he's wearing a bald cap, and I don't think you think he shaved. He probably shaved for it because he's Tom Hardy. Definitely shaved. Yeah, he definitely shaved it straight off, which is another point for Tom Hardy.
Dude, he did steroids for that movie, man. I think he said it. I think he's going on record and saying it. Like, I think someone asked him, "Did you do steroids?" He's like, "Look how big I am. I'm 5'9". Of course. Like, how do you think I got that big?
gigantic in that movie.
Yeah, exactly. Gigantic is the word. So I wanted to change the subject for a second. It's still on Batman, but it's a little bit beyond the films. I'm curious what you guys think about like the idea of Batman. Like, what is the appeal to this character? Because, like you've said, Rob, like you're not a comic book guy too much or a superhero guy, but even still, you like Batman. And I have a theory, and I'll state my theory, and then you guys can talk about this. And it's that Batman represents like the ultimate. He is the immortal human hero. And I say that because if you think about it, how many characters in mythology are Batman? Robin Hood, Batman, in essence, right? Wealthy guy, obviously probably good upbringing. Some shit happens. He puts on a hood, and he's a crime fighter, in essence, right? You had the old newspaper character, the Phantom, same exact plot. Guy in a mask, comes from a wealthy family. He's fighting injustice in Africa somewhere. There's just so many characters. Zorro is Batman, right? Same plot. I mean, you could even say Sherlock Holmes, right, is kind of that character. So why Batman? Why is people's fixation to it? They don't get tired of it. You can reboot it 1,000 times and people will still watch it. And people have a greater appeal, so much that when Superman was bombing, what was the solution to bring Superman back? Let's put him in a movie with Batman. That'll be what keeps him alive. It keeps people watching. So what do you guys think about that idea, the character of Batman, and why does it appeal to people?
Yeah, that's a loaded question here. I'll try to kick it off.
I gave you guys a steak, so you guys take a bite at it at a time.
Yeah. I think a lot of it, as I said in the beginning, a lot of it is the attainability appeal, the fact that anyone could, in essence, become Batman with the right resources and drive and work ethic and desire. So it's not something that's supernatural that you have to achieve. Everything that Batman has achieved and does is part of the natural world, and so it's like it's almost like that air of attainability, that you could one day, maybe I could be Batman, who knows. That's part of the fascination, but also it's the relatability of that. It's the fact that he is human. It's also the fact that humans naturally are drawn to like the celebrity, the fame, the lifestyle, the lavishness, the fact that he has multiple private planes and helicopters, he owns his company, he has his own cave and things like that. Like a lot like as much as people like to disparage the 1%, they're still fascinated by the lifestyle. Look at all these shows that are Regis, not what's his name, Lifestyles of the Rich and Famous. What's the guy's name? The host, the British guy. Fuck. Yeah. This is pissing me off that I can't get it. I want to say Roger something. It's probably not even close to Roger. I sound dumb, but yeah, you guys know who I'm talking about. Like there's shows, Real Housewives, this, Sex in the City, that, this. So people are naturally drawn and attracted to the lifestyle of the rich and wealthy. And I mean, there's a couple of ways you can go with that. One way is the overt way, which is you see their material possessions, the influence they exert, the power that they can wield. But a lot of it also is the deals they can make, the underground stuff. Like, what do these people have access to? Are they really controlling everything that's happened? So I think all of that appeals to the Bruce Wayne character because, like Joe said, he's the billionaire playboy, and people are just fascinated with that lifestyle. I want to have that lifestyle. Or even if I don't have it, I want to know what that's like, so I can escape my own commonality for a little bit. And the other part is people love beating the bad guy. So if you have a crime fighter who's doing all the right things, he never kills anyone ever. He only fights bad people, and he's literally cleaning up the streets for everyone else. So it's almost a selfless act. He's putting himself out there, even though he's concealing his identity. He's doing it for the greater good. So I think like these are notions that humans are just inherently drawn to. Well, it can go deeper, but I want to hear what Joe has to say. So I think that's why Batman appeals. He's in summary, he's an actual person. He has that rich lifestyle that people fascinate about and aspire to achieve one day, even if it's just an escape from their own life, even though they'll never get there, but they just want to see it. And lastly, it's that that notion that you're helping people, you're doing good, you're preventing harm from happening to other people.
So for me, it's pretty much a piggyback on what Rob said. I think the fact that he's a human, but he's like the peak human. He is peak physical shape. He, out of anyone in that DC world, he has the peak mental capacity to try to overcome physical odds that no human should ever overcome. He's like the world's greatest detective. He's basically the person that any vigilante or any uh, hero would want to be without any powers. I also think that he has 70 plus years of amazing stories that probably no other comic book character, and it's even debatable, no other fictional characters that has ever had over that long stretch of time. There's so many great stories that he's been a part of. And I think the biggest reason is his rogues gallery. I can't think of any fictional character, let alone any comic book character, that has the amount of iconic villains that Batman has. You can just name 10 to 20, well, maybe not 20, but 10 to 15 villains that if you go around one street corner and name a villain, a kid on the street can say, "Oh, that's Batman's villain." It's hard to do with a lot of other fictional characters.
Now, okay, I like what both you said, so I agree. I would say that a lot of that I agree with. I'm curious. Do you guys think, because you brought up kids and that I mean, even like children of today still share a fixation to this character that when we were kids we enjoyed. We watched cartoons. There's still Batman cartoons. Do you guys think that Batman is a good role model for kids? Like, you would never say to someone, the Punisher character is a good role model. Like, no, I mean, you might enjoy watching him. You might read his comic, but was he a good role model? Probably not. But Batman, do you think Batman is a good role model?
I think so. Another thing that that Joseph and I left out is, first of all, Batman is just cool. He's just cooler than everyone else. Just let's just get that out on the table right there. Um, his car, like his everything about him. Um, but in terms of role model, yeah, I mean, basically at his core, the obviously there's different interpretations of the Batman story, but throughout, as I said, he's been around for decades. But you're talking about someone who went through an immense like traumatic event in his life, and not only did he bounce back from that, he became one of the maybe the richest person in the world, and on top of that, he's cleaning up an entire city, which is New York City in disguise. We all know Gotham City is really New York. That's not a secret. There's even some of the neighborhoods. It's one of the neighborhoods in Gotham is called the Bowery. It's like, all right, we'll know what you're doing. It's just call it New York. I know what you're doing. Um, so not only did he become wildly successful, he's also, as Joe said, he's in tip top physical shape. He he has no distractions, meaning he doesn't let anything get in the way of his two purposes, which is to further his company, and which is heavily tied into his father's name, and that's kind of why he cares so much about Wayne Corp, because he admired his dad so much. And the second part is he's literally cleaning the streets by himself. So if I would give someone a role model, yeah, like someone who basically picked himself up from something that would literally devastate probably almost everyone else. And not only has he become the richest man in that universe, in that world, he's become also someone that is literally sacrificing his time and his body and sometimes his life for the greater good of the citizens of that city.
For me, I don't think he's a model hero. I mean, okay, so virtually all of these guys are vigilantes. So it's not that's not the greatest kind of base to stand on, but he he does not take some of the kind of positions that the Punisher would take in terms of he doesn't use weapons. Well, he doesn't use guns and he doesn't kill, but he still has very questionable motives in terms of trying to take down his antagonist, and he goes beyond the law. So if I was gonna tell like a kid that this is a certain character that I would want for them to be their role model, I wouldn't. As much as I love Batman, I wouldn't choose him as a role model. No,
All right, so is there another character you would, or would you just say, like, pretty much across the board, superheroes are not good role models?
that's it. I don't think as like once again, as much as I love superheroes, and I think you two know how much I love these stories. I don't think they should be I don't think they should be role models. I think they're just great stories to follow. I know for me, as a kid growing up, because these are the ones that kind of were opened up to me at the time. My top three are like Spider-Man, Batman, and then some form of the X-Men. Those three group of characters are the ones that I grew up like loving, and not any one of them really. I mean, the one that I probably kind of identify most with is Peter Parker, because he has real life things to deal with as opposed to a billionaire playboy or some a group of people that live off in some mansion waiting for some mission to go through. Um, but even him, he does some questionable things. Uh, Superheroes to me are not something I would want a kid to look towards to be a role model.
So it's kind of, I don't know if I would tell anyone to use them as a role model, but what I kind of find interesting is that, like, historically as people, right, we've always tended to celebrate, like, think about it, like the Marvel characters, they're demigods, right? They're like mythological Greek and Roman characters. I mean, they're beyond human. They have superpowers. They're near.
I totally disagree. They are They are beyond human, but the difference between DC characters and Marvel characters are that the Marvel characters are humans that have some kind of, like Rob said earlier when we were recording, they had some kind of accident or some kind of mutation, but they still have to deal with real life situations like paying bills, with dealing with a significant other, taking care of their parents or children. With DC, that's just not the case. If anything, they're really more the Greek gods with the Supermans and the Wonder Womans and the Batmans. They have more of this kind of otherworldly kind of um, this kind of backstory to them.
Yeah. But Marvel's also not exempt for that. You have Thor and Odin, who are literally gods. They're literally Norse gods. They didn't even change the name. So Thor is a god. So Marvel's not exempt for, but you're right, it's not most of them.
But even with Thor in the early comics, they twisted the mythology a lot. They had him go over to New York and they like changed his they made his alter ego a doctor, and whenever he needed to do something, then he would change into Thor, and that's something that you would never see in Norse mythology. So what they try to do with Marvel, they try to humanize the characters a lot more than what DC would. DC is just they're more I they're more icons in the whole superhero realm because they have better stories. They they've been around for like double the time that Marvel's been around, and they're more otherworldly than Marvel characters, in my opinion.
Yeah, I don't know. I don't know. I think if there was some kid out there who desired to be like Batman or to absorb some of those qualities, I would say that those that's not a bad thing. If you want to pursue physical perfection and then also like bring your intelligence to its highest degree and be like very focused and like able to deal with pain and to be highly effective. I don't think that those qualities would ever be a detriment to someone's life. If you compare it to like the Flash, right? The Flash is also DC. He has to pay bills. He's not super rich, but like his personality is not a personality. Like I don't that's the thing. Like with Batman, is that Batman, despite having all of these limitations, excels, and usually his excelling is not financial. It is the fact that like his ability to focus and to sacrifice and concentrate is always better than everyone else's.
But that's the thing. At what cost though? He can't have normal human interaction with people anymore because he either doesn't trust people, which is a big thing for him, or he's afraid to lose the people that he would eventually love to retribution or revenge. So I don't know if that's something that I would. It's great to have a certain drive.
I mean, I'm not asking a kid to become Batman. I'm talking about the qualities. I mean, that all the things that you just listed are things that would never affect anyone.
No, but okay. So one thing, I'm veering off the subject a little bit, but I've been watching this documentary on ESPN, the Last Dance, and with Michael Jordan. And you notice something very similar with him. He has a drive to win at all costs, and he is willing to drive everybody crazy. He he's not looking for friends in his teammates. He's looking for championships, and that's a similar dynamic with Batman, where he has a singular drive, and everything is blocked out because of that drive.
Yeah, but I think that quality, what you're describing, I don't disagree with you, man. I don't think it's something I would want in my own life, but I do think that what you're describing, it's not new. You find that anyone who I think not anyone, many people who are like type A, high functioning, very competitive, out to succeed. You see that happens. I mean, not always. Not. I don't want to generalize, but I think it is a common quality that you see in a lot of these people. Like Elon Musk, I would venture to guess, like, I don't know the guy. I don't think he has many close friends. Like, I just don't think he has the time or the inclination. It's like his mind is on something else. So those are things that I think that you don't like what you're talking about, that fear. I think that that's just in you. Like, I don't think anyone could accidentally become that way. I think a lot of those qualities are kind of like inborn, or you would absorb them as you grew up. But I don't think you could ever warn someone like, "Hey, this is the path that will lead you to not having friends." I think that quality is already in you, and that's just a byproduct of it. You know what I mean? It's like I don't think Michael Jordan, someone made him that way. I think that's a lot of those qualities. I don't know, somewhere in his upbringing and who he is, his DNA, that desire to win would outshine any desire for friendship or for building that social network.
I've also been watching The Last Dance, and he definitely sacrificed friendships and like teammate relationships because he wanted to. I mean, for lack of a better term, he was playing mind games with a lot of people. He just wanted to get them going. A lot of times he wanted to piss people off, so they played angry. And he was like, if you play angry, we're going to have a better chance of winning because you're upset. and you want to take it out on someone, which is going to be the opposite team. And that's literally how he literally got under people's skin purposely so they could play angry. And he admits it. He admits it in this documentary, and he started crying. The scene, not to ruin it for spoiler alert for anyone who's watching it. Um, there's a segment where he talks about just this, how he was pushing people to maybe a little bit too far, and Michael Jordan breaks down and starts crying. He starts crying because
When you look at the character of Batman, to me, I just see the same thing. He pushes away Selena Kyle. He pushes away Dick Grayson. He pushes away the people that he loves the most because he's either afraid of retribution from his enemies, or he's afraid he's afraid of getting too close and kind of losing his edge.
right. I think the latter is apropos. He's afraid of getting too close because it'll compromise his vigilante abilities, number one. And number two is he doesn't want to get too close to someone because what if they get taken away? What if they are killed? And then he has to go through the same thing he did with his parents when he was a child. And so a lot of that, Joe is exactly right. Batman keeps his relationships at arm's length because he doesn't want it to be used against him. Yes, that's his detective side going, but the Bruce Wayne side is I don't want to fall in love with Selena Kyle because if someone takes her and kills her, I'm gonna have to go through the same pain and suffering I did when I watched my parents get murdered right in front of me. Yeah,
And they've had these stories too. Some of these stories are insane. The Killing Joke.
the Killing Joke is awesome. Yeah, it was yeah. Don't give it away, Joe. It's about Barbara Gordon though. It's Barbara Gordon and Commissioner Gordon are heavily involved, but the Joker's one of his best um arcs. Yeah, that's one of his best arcs. Yeah.
I think there's like two like maybe takeaway lessons is that I actually think would be valuable for a kid, whether you're looking at the story of Michael Jordan or you're looking at Batman, and that is one that you can't get everything you want. If you want to be the best at something, something's going to have to be sacrificed. And in the examples that you're giving, Joe, the sacrifice is relationships, human relationships, and that's a real lesson. I mean, if you want to be great in something, that's a huge time investment, and your energy, your time, your focus, something's going to go on the sideline. And I would imagine, like with it, to use a Michael Jordan or to use Batman, I would venture to guess those people that were close to Michael Jordan, the only reason he has those people in his life are because they chose to stay with him, because he was probably a very difficult person to be around because of that drive, because of that focus, because of that selfishness. So I think that's one big takeaway. Like, yeah, man, you want to be Batman, you want to go fight crime. Well, yeah, you're not going to also go home and be a family man and have a wife and have kids. Like, how many superheroes are able have all of that? No, it's not. It's not possible.
And also to touch on one other thing, the amount of injuries this man deals with, I can't envision. So that's another thing. I wouldn't want to deal with that.
They do a good job of that in the Nolan Batmans where Alfred is like, yeah, Michael Caine is trying to patch him up, and he was like, maybe you should take some time off, and then he doesn't want to do it. Batman gets hurt every night he goes out.
Watch some of those scenes. He's jumping off a building, like your knees. Like just like, how are you doing that, man? Your knees got to be shot. You know, you're like 35 and you're done. You're like a pro rugby player.
Yeah, they alluded to that in The Dark Knight Rises. Like the doctor said, your cartilage is gone. Your you have very limited range of motion in your shoulders. You have
Again, it's a sacrifice, right? It's like that shows you, man. The thing I like about Batman is how his mortality is always a major point in the movies, in the comics. Like, he is mortal, and it is a constant battle between his mortality and his focus and his desire, and having to try to push his mortality, his humanness, as far as he can get it, right? And I mean, it's like that's it's an impressive thing. Like since Rob had to step away, did you ever watch the Justice League cartoons?
Uh, yes, and I mean, so not as much as I watch like the '90s like Batman cartoons, but yeah, I watched some of the Justice League cartoons.
There's a great one because he ends up he's fighting one of these godlike characters, and it comes down to a scene where him and this villain, this foe who's like a galactic kind of character, larger than life. It comes down to a scene where Batman is kind of put himself. He's a master chess player. He's kind of put himself in a situation where he's like, hey, if you want to the villain, if you want to win, all right, this is going to be like a lose-lose situation. Like, if you destroy us, I'm going to destroy your planet. So if you want to win, your planet's gone, and you walk away. And the guy that says the villain looks at him and says, if this had been anyone else, I wouldn't have trusted you, but I know you're willing to kill your own in order to win. So I take what you say as the truth. It's not a bluff. And that's why I always like Batman. He is willing to do what needs to be done, even if it's unpleasant. And that always puts him at odds with other characters because they're not. And he is. He's willing to sacrifice anyone and himself in order to win, in order to truly defeat the enemy. And that's why I always liked his character, because he's more than a superhero. He's like a medieval general, right? Like, he is the
That's
tactician.
typical
He
Batman.
is the detective. He is, the Caesar. He is the guy willing to do what is necessary in order to destroy the enemy, even when the enemy is far, far, far superior to him in physicality and in a variety of different ways.
The Caesar point is a good one. That's part of the reason why I wouldn't recommend him as a role model because he would be like a tyrant at times, just to get to the end goal.
Oh yeah, I mean, he's not, again, to link him back to Michael Jordan. He's probably not an easy person to be around. Like, Alfred's job is probably a hard ass job. You're dealing with this guy who is like singularly focused on fighting crime. He's also running $1 billion business, and you're dealing with all his inner demons from his childhood. The guy's got probably so many different undiagnosed mental and emotional disorders, and you're dealing with this guy. There's no one else. It's just him in a mansion dealing with Bruce Wayne every day. Like, what do you want for breakfast today? And he's like, fighting crime. Do you want eggs? All right, we'll get you eggs today. It's like, it's not easy.
Yeah, and he could do whatever he wants. So it's like he could be dangerous. He could be dangerous. He can snap at any point. But also, why do you think all the Alfreds want? They love when Bruce Wayne brings a girl home and they're retains. They're like, we need him to get all of this out in some way. We need him to have a partner. We need some measure of check, and that's why yeah, yeah. That's why Alfred loves all of Bruce Wayne's girlfriends. Loves them because they check him.
So, guys, I gotta actually hop off. I got another call. But any like final thoughts on Batman? This was kind of an interesting roller coaster of a Batman conversation. But any final thoughts? I don't know.
So my final thoughts: if you're gonna watch, if you're to sit down and watch a movie, don't let it be the Avengers. Don't. If you like 95, if you like 2.5 hours of CGI computer stuff, yeah, maybe. But if you want a real story about a real person, just watch the Batman. It's the best one. It's just the best one. There's just no doubt.
I will fight you, Ralph. Uh, I love the Avengers, but
Yeah, Joe likes buildings exploding and guys throwing hammers that break everything.
no, but I mean, I definitely love that kind of stuff. But the reason why I love Avengers is because of the character interactions. You can see how different each one is, and you can see how they play off each other. In terms of a last kind of um like note for our Batman discussion, I'm very curious to see where this new director, Matthew Reeves, I believe, takes this Batman. I'm dying to see a more detective kind of Batman, and I definitely want to see more um, in an Avengers type of way, and more interaction between the different villains and how their different egos kind of um, have to play off of each other in terms of trying to one dominate the city and also kind of counteract Batman and what he's trying to do with clean up the city. So I think this new movie is going to have multiple villains.
Yeah, it will. It's gonna be. I'm pretty excited for this next Batman take.
I can't wait. I mean, do we have an idea as to when this new Batman comes out?
Yeah, 2021, probably summer.
Yeah, it's not going to be summer because the whole coronavirus has pushed everything back. Yeah, I think it's going to be like October 2021. They're like halfway done, so they still have some more shooting to do in I believe in Britain.
All I gotta say is they just need to do another Batman. Make Tom Hardy the villain. Give him a different character, something a little more subtle, a little more cunning. I don't know what villain he could be, but I mean that's all I want to see. I want to see my Batman versus my Tom Hardy, and I'll probably be satisfied with that film.
One one last thing to anyone that listens to this particular podcast, if they get any chance, watch the Harley Quinn cartoon series that's been out the past 2 seasons. Some of the funniest shit I've ever seen on the animation ever. It's so good.